Is being live streamed. No, you do not have my consent. No, it is not okay. Got it.
Show is live custom streaming right now at twitch.tv/Geoffrey Sinatra. Somewhere on the YouTubes, I believe under Geoffrey Sinatra, Facebook, and Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. Rats. I have a rat. I have an escaped rat.
All right, let's stay on topic though. So I told you I have a topic.
There is no topic.
No.
You just told me you don't have one. I do though.
No, I do. I have many topics, but then you said I have a backup topic.
I do.
And I was like, I want to hear that. And I'm pretty sure everybody else out there in the interweb wants to hear it too. So what is your backup topic? And then we'll just riff off of that.
How do you deal with suicide?
Oh,
And how do you deal with it when you know it's somebody that you predicted would do it? And then how do you
I have a rule about suicide.
how do you deal with it when you ignored him when he reached out recently on purpose? And now you're having a bit of guilt. And he's the guy who saved you from your marriage. He saved you from being homeless and was your doctor. Topic.
I have a rule that I follow, which is, and I don't know who you're talking about, or I mean, no offense by it. Just this is my personal rule for me to get through every day.
Yeah.
And get past those hard times when that is possibly a concept. I feel that death needs to be earned. That when you commit suicide, you're stealing it. Any of us can do that. It's very easy. But if you're really going to be true to your point, and you're going to just live to see the next day and maybe the next year and maybe beyond or whatever, you're robbing yourself of that opportunity. And yes, I have several friends who've committed suicide, and usually, like the last one I'm thinking about right now, she was the happiest person I ever knew. She was so full of life and smiles and joking, and she could keep up with the boys as much as anything. And one day out of the blue, she hung a noose and jumped out her freaking second story and hung herself, which I thought, damn, that's a hard way to go. I'm not even brave enough to do that. And she left 3 kids behind. So fact that I can keep it in my head that it has to be earned makes me have to do that so that I don't do that. You know what I mean?
It has to be earned. Like you
Yeah.
have to earn it.
Death has to be earned. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you get old and you die, hey, you earned it. If you get an ailment of some kind and you die, you've earned it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pull a Kurt Cobain and put a shotgun to your head and blow your head off, no, not so much. And I know I'm sure there's going to be a lot. Yeah, I mean, if we even had an audience, I'm sure people would not like hearing that. But you know, I get tired of hearing about people, committing suicide, especially celebrities and things like that. You know, Philip Seymour Hoffman is one of my favorite all-time actors.
Yeah.
And towards the end, evidently, all he did is sat in a bar across the street from his place and just drank. And then one day, I guess he just killed himself. And the guy was incredible. He was an incredible actor. But it wasn't working. And, the list goes on and on.
He made the great mistake that a lot of recovered addicts make, which is he had been off the Phillips more often. He'd been off the heroin, and opiates for quite a while. And then he relapsed into drinking. And then, decided after a week of binge drinking that he would, just get a little hair on, a little, take the edge off like he used to. But the most common mistake they make is you mismanage the dose because you assume that you could take however much it was that you used to when you had a tolerance.
Is that how he died? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't even know.
Yeah, it was an accidental. He
So it's like a John Belushi scene.
except Belushi was. Yeah, I don't think he can't. I don't think he was a relapse. I think he was too much. All the way through.
He ran for excess.
Yeah. Whereas Hoffman was too much, but had been clean for like a decade, and then decided to relapse and go take a little pop, and it was too big of a dose. And
I didn't know
that. Just to give him credit.
It's tragic, and then I'm gonna shift a little bit now. I'm gonna take your theme. I'm gonna move a little bit to the side.
Okay.
And maybe you've seen my posts. It's funny how certain celebrities die, and it doesn't really matter. And then all of a sudden somebody dies, and like it hits you really hard. And Ken Block has hit me really hard. Like, I am trying not to post Ken Block stuff. And I don't know if you know who he is or not. A lot of people don't know, but he was a rally car racer. He was one of the founders of DC Shoes. he was actually kind of a nerd, but he was so good at what he did. And so the Hooligans or whatever they call their group, I mean, they would shut down the streets of LA and let this guy just rip through it. He had cars built for him specifically. Ford was just like, what do you want, Ken? He's like, I need, 845 horsepower, four-wheel drive, Mustang, and they would build it and they would do it, and he did it. And then all of a sudden, it's the second, right after the new year, and the guy's riding a snowmobile down evidently an incline. I didn't want to watch the video. I chosen not to do it. Damn, I guess it flipped, landed on him. Guy's 55 years old and dies. And I've watched him do so many things that were way, way beyond, like Pikes Peak, I think it's called. I watched the making of them do that, where and I was talking to my girlfriend about it because she's like, yeah, we drove it. And she's like, there was a section where he just did a couple donuts on the side. And she said, yeah, we actually pulled off right there because the anxiety of driving that was so insane. I was like, wow, is it really that bad? I mean, I drove Palomar Mountain.
This is Pikes Peak.
Pikes Peak, yeah.
I have a little clip actually of him. I'll share real quick.
Well, the thing he did is there's one turn on it where he kept doing it again and again and again because he was trying to find his level to figure out how far he could push it. And boy,
holy crap. Oh my god.
it gets better. But
Just
yeah,
gonna breathe
I'm not
for
gonna watch
just a
the
second.
whole thing because it's
Ken Block. Holy mackerel. I can feel him shifting underneath to try and get that just a little bit of traction back. Like you can,
it's crazy, right? And there's the one turn where he hits the dirt and you swear the car is going to fall off the cliff. And that's the one that he took like 4 or 5 times, like figuring out, I go a little farther, I go a little farther, I go a little farther, and it's like,
Where's the edge?
yeah, yeah. That doesn't kill
Wow.
you, but a fucking snowmobile does. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's never going to be the thing that you've mastered. It's going to be the thing that masters you.
yeah. That's like Mark Howe, I think I want to say is his name, and that's probably not right. Big wave surfer, died in California on like an 8-foot wave.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
you're just like, this guy has been on like 20 and 30-foot waves in his life, and all of a sudden,
Right.
bam,
Right.
you're dead.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. That sucks, man. It's unfortunate.
So a little off track from your suicide statement, but
Well,
kind of led there.
the the suicide, saying it the way I do sounds malicious. It's a death by misadventure, so to speak, death by assumed overdose. Not knowing whether or not it's not conclusive whether or not it was intentional or unintentional.
Is this somebody that you and I both know, or
Somebody that I do very well. Yeah.
but not me?
No, you never met him. He became my doctor here, and then we became friends. And then we've been friends for 19 years. And he was when the wheels came off of my marriage, he was there to grab a hold of me and make sure I didn't go off the.
Yeah, you told me about this.
But then after about a year, then we had a falling out. It was a bit too much.
Yeah, but he gave you a place to live.
He did. He did. He did. So I mean, in spite of how things, how things went, I always loved the guy. Just he was a bit more destructive than what was healthy for me to be part of. And married twice, 3 times, divorced, no kids, never wanted kids. Always was smart enough to be selfish enough to realize that kids were not part of the deal. Love my kids to death. I haven't told them yet. I'm genuinely affectionate, love my kids. But it's like getting news that he passed. So it's not shocking, but about the year or so that we lived together, I would have predicted it multiple times. And I actually resuscitated him once.
Oh, wow.
From an accidental overdose. That was kind of towards the end of our best friend brother relationship, because he was angry at me for resuscitating him, even though it was an accident. Because he always said he would end it all if he wasn't such a pussy, but he's too much of a pussy to do it.
Wanted it, yeah.
So when it happened accidentally, and I saved him, once he took me through the paces to understand that it was actually true, because he's a doctor. Right? He was like, holy crap, you did bring me back from the other side. I said, yeah, I know. Why did you do that? Should have just left me there. I was
Yeah,
like, what?
that's
I was,
that's
like, you have any idea how life-changing that moment is when you're sitting there with your friend and all of a sudden you've got 170 pounds of dead weight just hit you in the side? Like, you don't know what dead weight is until you experience. John wasn't a very big guy at all. Maybe 170 pounds. And we were sitting side by side at the dinner table, and I just saw him hit me with his head and start pushing me out of the chair, out of my chair. It was the wildest thing, because I could have sworn there was some propulsion behind it. Like, dead weight, there's something to it. So I remember I looked down, I'm like, what, like something's off. So I tried to push him back up, and he wasn't really going back up. He was kind of bending in half like a noodle. That's when I realized there was no muscle control. There was no anything except for the weight of his gravity trying to push me off the chair. So I laid him out on the chair and was like, huh. And anyway, so I
that is a
had to make that decision. What do I do now?
I was gonna say, not to glorify, but that is a special place to be in. I think the only thing you can do is try to recognize what was going on. Just try to, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a similar experience, but it was when I was a teenager. I had no knowledge of anything at all. But I was with a girl, not my girlfriend. She was just a friend. And she took all kinds of pills. She was trying to kill herself. And I had to say, no, you need to stick your fingers down your throat right now and throw up. And we sat on the curb, and that's exactly what she did. Because I knew that if it was in her system, it was going to be a problem. Then we'd have to go to the hospital, and I knew she wasn't going to do that. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's never comfortable.
Weighing out those odds, yeah, you're like, you're never comfortable. It's true. I remember I was conflicted, because I was like, here's my friend he's depressed, and he doesn't have much to, like, there's not much to look forward to. He had some legal problems on top of that at the time, which were causing him even more anxiety. And then knowing how he felt, and knowing that he would be okay with not surviving that episode, and then logically me trying to go through like the what ifs. What's the right thing in this situation? It was like, if I try to save him and I don't, then I'm negligent. Am I negligent for not calling for emergency services? And if I call for emergency services and he was going to survive anyway, and he does, then he was always concerned about his losing his license, or his what's it called? His professional respect.
Doctorate, because he was a doctor.
Yeah. So he didn't want that part. He's like, that's all I have. He's like, I'm not a smart dude like you. I can't just go manufacture another degree or another way to earn a living. He's like, this is what I know, and I'm not very good at it. But so then, I kind of go through like, well, if he's got it on his record that he's tried to commit suicide, or I assumed overdose on meds, on pills, but I knew what pills he had, and I knew the time frame and everything, all of our interaction. I couldn't figure how he had taken enough pills to clock himself out. Just like he said, he was a pussy. He wouldn't have necessarily done it on purpose. But here's the great thing when it comes to certain meds like Xanax and benzos like that is when taken with other medications, is it may not be something dramatic that is enough to cause the overdose. It could be one more than what it would have been before.
And it's a combination.
And having a combination, of course, accelerates things. Even if you've been on that combination forever, and he'd been on that combination forever. So where a normal human being, if you were given 1 milligram of Xanax as your therapeutic dose, you might, if you were beside yourself, nervous, anxious, whatever, you might take 2. And that would pretty much be enough to floor you. You go to sleep with a grin on your face.
Not to offend the doctors out there. Sorry, guys. It's very much like therapists. Why do you become a counselor and do therapy? Mostly because you want to fix yourself.
Right.
Doctor. Way too many doctors take pills.
Oh.
If they don't,
Yeah.
They end up in. I have a friend of mine who he's finally back on track, but he got caught up with a couple of women.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a exchange of passes, we'll call it. And then when he wanted to cut it off, they called him out on it. And then he lost his license.
Yeah.
And boy, he had to work hard to get it back. He's back on track now, and he knows better. He's done with it. But good golly, they took him down really fast. So you end up with these doctors that do that, because let's face it, if you can write a prescription on them, you got that pad, you can do whatever you want. You can.
Well, here's the thing. He had his own doctor, just like most doctors do. You have your own general or internist specialists, and you go to them, and you don't even have to lie to them. They understand that the rate of addiction is the same across all occupation levels and all financial class levels. No, it's the same. You're gonna have a certain percentage of people who are gonna have a predilection for getting evaded and going sideways. Who would also get addicted.
Yeah, but did he go to a doctor? Because here's the deal. He can't write himself a script for himself.
Correct.
Otherwise, that's a big red flag.
Right, yes.
So you go find somebody else who.
He had his own doctor who would give him the prescriptions.
Yeah.
What he, yeah. And I was like, well, I said, you ever feel weird about that? You ever feel like, sometimes I'd feel like maybe I'm asking for too much. He's like, but he really never questioned me, like it wasn't like he was like, give me 10 billion milligrams of something crazy. It wasn't. He had anxiety, he had insomnia, um, he had muscular and nerve damage from back surgeries. He was he was a bike rider, like Tour de France, that sort of stuff,
High school. Yeah.
He was an athlete, about 10 years older than I. John was a hobbyist, like he was active, and he did those things, and so he had damage that would have, he said, across anyone. The meds that he took were not contraindicated for the issues that he had.
It justified a reason.
It absolutely, yeah. Now it's whether or not. I mean, he was good about not violating the pain contract, or he wasn't on excessive, like, really things like that. Nowhere we would get into trouble.
It's definitely a slippery slope, because
years ago,
you kind of go down that, and you kind of go hurt, and then you get something, and before you know it, you're addicted.
Oh yeah,
you don't even realize it. It's not really your fault.
right.
It just happens. I mean, I'm scared to death of pills. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with you guys.
He put himself through rehab because, well, I think the first one was he had herniated disc. So yeah, he said he had the pain. They gave him the meds, Vicodin or whatever. He had the surgery within, like, ow, there's my back. He had the surgery within like 4 days, and it was immediate pain relief. Like, he's like having that nerve clipped, and that the nerve removed from that pathway was all the relief he needed. But then he said he felt like $1 million, but he had the pills sitting there, so he like took one, took another one, whatever. Next day, took another couple. After a week or so, he realized he was out of pills, and he just been happy and glowy and all that stuff. And didn't realize until he was coming down with like flu symptoms. He's like, what? What am I getting the flu for? You get sniffly, your spine hurts, you got a headache, general malaise. And he was like, what the hell, man? What am I getting sick from? This is ridiculous. And he was like, this is that. This is, holy crap. He said that was his first moment and understanding of what happens when you become habituated to something like that. He's like, it didn't take much. It didn't take much.
All right. So
that's brutal.
Considering our show, your show, Shelf Help. How do we take this lesson and turn it around? Show the positive. Like, I'm grasping at straws at this point, because I'm trying to figure out where the positive is. I could try to fake it, but I like to do that. So what are we trying to tell people who would listen to this about this? I guess is the bottom line.
Audio device connected.
Yes,
Or did you not hear me?
I lost you on my speaker for a second. I just transferred you to a new one. Tessies,
What's the last time? You know,
all right, you're back.
well, I'll do it. So, that being said, this is your show. It's the shelf whatever show. How do we take this story and turn it into something positive to where we can see the good in this example?
And you turn into something positive.
You know?
Spent the last 2 days in shock.
What did you learn from the last 2 days?
What did I learn? Well, I'm not changing the outcome regardless of how I feel about it. And because of the destructive nature of our friendship, or the potential for mutual destruction, which a lot of that is based on, I always told him I never had a problem knowing when to not do things. But I've always my my issue has been more like when is the right time to start, not when is the appropriate time to stop. I know when to stop. I can recognize the signs when I get there. When to start, I'm like, that's where you and I are bad together. And he's like, well, how so? It's like, because it could be 11:30 at night, and I know I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning for a productive day at work. And you could be like, hey, FYI, somebody gave me some party favors at work. I forgot about that. I forgot to tell you. Somebody just gave me some woo or whatever. You want to try it? I'm like, it's 11:30 at night.
Pause for a second, because I'm going to direct these things individually as I can. So what I am hearing right now is that you know, it really sucks because people have told me how bad I am talking to people lately.
What?
People have told me how bad I am talking to people lately. So
How bad you are at talking?
2 people, yes. Yeah, I get a bunch of shit. So
Fuck them.
never mind.
This is about me.
Move forward. Move forward. I don't want to be a jerk. Move forward.
But you can't help it. It's in your nature.
Yeah, it is. So move forward.
I don't know where I'm moving forward from. Anyways,
Okay, all right. So The deal is, death doesn't matter that much to the person who dies. It matters to everybody else who's around, because we all have to deal with the aftermath of it. And
Yeah.
that's what you're dealing with right now. You're dealing
Yeah.
with the aftermath of your friend who, now you're looking at all kinds of things. You're looking at pill popping, and he helped me here, and he was a doctor, and blah, blah, blah. And he had his own doctor, and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really matter. See, this is why I'm not supposed to talk. But it's okay. He just chose to move out. But it's us, say us, I mean you, who has to deal with him no longer being in your life. And this is where I go back to the concept of I feel death should be earned. I feel that if you take it, it's cheating. But you know what? What the fuck do I know, man? I don't know nothing. You know, I'm just a G monk in the corner. I got no idea, right? And you're going through a hard time. You're going through a struggle with this. But you know what? Maybe that's what it's all about. Maybe that's why people die. Maybe that's why your dad died. You know, maybe you get a little glimpse into that reality. I don't know. I haven't been there yet. I mean, I've had a lot of people die around me, but nobody's so close that it really fucking hurt. Except for Ken Block, you know, because he's fucking bitching. I'm done talking.
Um, John was an unwavering friend in need, and I'm beyond grateful for the fact that he was there for me in the way he was able to be there for me when I needed it the most. Because
Just hold on to that. That sums it up right there.
I know,
It's great. You know. Let me ask you this. If John was on the cast right now, what would he tell you?
about what, this topic?
Yeah, about his death. What would he tell you?
Um, Probably the same things that he told me about it before it ever happened. Tried to tell me that his dogs, Lucy and Cephas, got old and he put them to sleep. And that he had even told me 5 years ago. He said, after these dogs, no more dogs. Because it breaks my heart he's like, the one thing that I have and the one thing that I fall in love with, probably the one thing that keeps me going is I get a dog and I fall in love. He goes, I always get a big dog too. Because he goes, remember I sold my Porsche to get an SUV because my last dog, she couldn't get into the Porsche. She was too big. So I bought an SUV just to transport her, to put her to sleep. And then I wound up with this SUV that I hate. And I brought it back to my house, and then I buried her in the back. And he goes, this was like a year ago. I talked to him since we broke up. I hung out with him a handful of times. I crashed at his place a couple of times. I tried. We tried. Just wasn't quite the same, This distance was more. It was important. So he tells me Lucy, his Rhodesian Ridgeback, was a 150-pound dog. She was fucking huge Ridgeback. He had Lucy and Cephas. Cephas was like, he was a normal sized Rhodesian Ridgeback. He was like 115 pounds. He looked small until you realize they were both humongous dogs, just fucking giant. You wonder why people walking down the street, speed walking, would get nervous when either one of those dogs would come barreling through the garage door.
Yeah.
They're just goofy, but they look like, yeah.
Yeah. They probably got their tongue hanging out, half their mouth going.
Yeah. You scare the shit out of them. My kids used to be afraid of them until they figured out you can manipulate a dog that big. You just have to punch in the ribs hard. You can move them. So he had told me, he said, I remember he says, Lucy, and he named her Lucy because of the way she got excited and she started to wag her ass and her tail. And then she would get unstable because of her back end would get loose.
Hips. Big dogs have problems with their hips.
Yeah. So even when she's a puppy, the only dog I saw who can pull herself to the ground, wagging her own tail. But I remember he's like, she's about 10 years old now. She's coming up on 10. I was like, really? God, it seems like she was a puppy yesterday. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, after her, it's Cephas won't be too far behind because these big dogs don't last for that long. He goes, then I'm done. That's it. I'm all done with dogs. I can't do it anymore because I'm packing it in. He's like, I don't think I could go through the heartache again. And I was like, well, get yourself a smaller dog that lasts for 20 years, John.
So I watched Rocky, the original Rocky, the other night, and because I'm the same way. I don't have any pets in my house now. I'm relocated. I downsized. I'm like, no dogs, no cats, nothing. But I'm watching Rocky, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe I should get a turtle. Because Rocky had turtles,
Yeah.
and then he had Moby Dick, which was his goldfish, and he'd bring him over and he'd set them next to each other, and he's like, "Here's Moby Dick," and it was just, it was so simple that for a moment it caught me.
Yeah.
Man, maybe I should do that. I'm like, do I need something here? I don't know. This is all a new environment for me, so I'm not sure. And I've had a beta fish before. Maybe I'll do that again. I have no idea. What I want right now is I want the ability to walk out my front door and go wherever I want to be. not have to worry about animals or anything like that, feeding animal. My dragon passed, my dog died, and my little dog lives with my ex now, so fantastic. At least I get to see him once in a while. But I think you were onto something there, where you kind of veered off course at the end, because I think you were really talking about something positive, and then by the end of it, it went a little bit south. But I think the important part was to say he had these big dogs and he loved them. He spent his time with those dogs. And as a man, that's what you do. The rest of it, as it ended up, when he said, "I'm done," that's the part that's kind of like, maybe I don't need to hear that part. Just, I guess what I'm trying to say is remember the good parts, just get to where, whoever this guy is,
He's kind of like Hunter Thompson. I'm
uh,
not surprised. He went out his way. Here's the thing: I'm sitting here on the day after Christmas. John and I had not spoken for at least a year, maybe longer, year and a half. He'd helped me maybe a year and a half ago. I saw him remotely as a patient for a moment, but it'd been a while, and years ago, I got my first Alexa.
you said her name out loud. She heard you.
I know. And he was a fan of his. He was in the first generation. He's all about technology. He would laugh because he's like, I spend so much money on technology, but I suck at technology. He absolutely sucked at technology. But that's where he adored me, because I could fix anything, and he would break everything. So he's like, I'm so glad you're here. Help me. I broke it again.
Please.
He has a $30,000 flat screen TV because that's how much it costs. Because he was an early adopter of everything. Didn't understand it. Didn't know how it works. Didn't really want to know. Just wanted it to work.
And there's some of that.
I have a picture of him holding like 3 iPads, like in his office. What do you have 3 iPads? He's 3. He's a plus an iPhone, plus another iPhone.
Don't they talk to each other? I don't know.
He's like, well, you find out they got the iPad Pro. Why wouldn't you want that one? Because you have the iPad 1, the iPad 2, the iPad Mini, and then the iPad Pro. He's like, I like iPads. I'm an Apple fan. But I can't read the binding. The Great Shark Hunt. Nice.
I have to use the restroom because I have an old man bladder.
Go ahead.
I want to interrupt you. Come up with something while I'm gone.
I'll tell a funny tale on John. So we did huge technology fan, did not understand how any of it worked. So I was always kind of like his magical buddy, because I'm a technology fan. I'm a fan of all that stuff, but I must know how it works. I'm rarely, I would say never. I would say, how about this? I am rarely comfortable with giving an answer and just saying, because that's the facts, that's why, or because I'm the dad, that's why. I've always preferred to be able to give the why behind things. I spend more time on understanding why things work than I do enjoying the fact that they do. It's a weird sort of it's a weird sort, yeah. Just I'm a weirdo that way. So anywho, there's a lot of things about this guy that I really love and respect. And I knew he wouldn't be forever. And I knew he, whether on purpose or on accident, was okay with or encouraged by not having to participate in the humdrum. He didn't want to do it. But after we lost touch, or I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps and start living a life. I started my podcast, and John and I used to talk until it was, like too late at night almost. He was all about sleep discipline and sleep hygiene, and I was all about robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we had like two different perspectives on how to get this done. And he had worked in a sleep clinic when he was coming up and going through med school, and he understood sleep apnea, and I was on a CPAP machine. But he one of the first things he did when I moved in with him was he put a Garmin watch on me. And he's like, "We're gonna start tracking you, and I'm gonna figure you out. Well, I don't understand why you're so fat. We're gonna figure that out." I'm like, "You've been my doctor for 10 years." Like, he's like, I know. We're gonna solve. I'm gonna figure you out. Well, he starts keeping track of my stats through the Garmin, and this is a guy who did sports medicine. So he would have known how to get his hero, Lance Armstrong, to not get caught doping, if you know what I mean. John understood things. John built an apartment on his house up in the up at the base of Mount Lemmon here. He built a apartment for like 180 grand on above his garage for Lance Armstrong to just come when he would come to do the tour to Tucson, and then use Mount Lemmon for practice. He only came one season, but John built it for him.
I have to interrupt here a little bit, because number one, I mean, we all know about Lance and what he did, and I don't think it was fair. I mean, they were all doing it; they just chose him,
right?
But because I've talked to friends of mine who played for the NFL professionally, and they were just like, we had to do steroids. We had to.
Right.
Otherwise we couldn't compete. That was their job. So
right.
That aside, The only screwed up thing I can think about though is, he's from Texas, right?
Yeah.
And we have like a little bike ride here in New Braunfels that's, it's just for the common folk.
Mhm.
This motherfucker shows up and rides against them all. Yeah, of course you're gonna win. I mean, you're Lance Armstrong, for crying out loud. I mean, for some of the guys, it's like, it's really cool riding. Wait, nope, not next to you anymore. Wow,
Right.
boy, he's fast. you know,
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm like, that's kind of screwed. That's like Stevie Ray Vaughan, like showing up to a blues jam or something like that. Like, hey, it's open mic blues jam night, and you're like, hey, I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Right.
It kills you. It kills you.
I would say as long as he wasn't taking somebody's purse or their position, then
I'm not.
you just call it camaraderie. But if he's showing up to win the $150 and go on to the next ride, that's fucked up.
Well, and I don't know that. I don't know anything about it. I just everybody was excited because it's like Lance is driving,
Yeah.
riding his bicycle with us.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is the same guy who got called out for steroid use, and
Yeah. Well, I think it was.
got
Was it
taken away from him.
his blood doping basically? Adding, spinning more oxygen back into his own blood. Just giving you a higher oxygen count will give you more stamina.
Oh, really?
Blood doping. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
It's still an advantage. I mean, that's why it went undetected for such a long period of time, was because they weren't adding stimulants. They weren't adding hormones to you. They weren't doing that. They would take your own blood, like the next night, and they do like kind of a mini transfusion. Take it out, whip it up into a centrifuge, get the red blood cells highly oxygenated, and then inject your own red blood cells back into you. So now you would have more oxygen carrying blood cells.
How crazy is that? That just sounds insane. I mean, I don't know anything about that, but it just sounds insane to me. Like,
Sounds genius.
well,
It sounds genius. I mean, they think like, how do we do this without without getting caught for steroids? You're like, well, they don't know to look for extra blood cells of your own, at least at that time, right? The earliest doping started in like early 20th century, early 1900s, when bicycles were relatively new. And some of the earliest doping started when the earliest races began. They would use cigars. They'd be out there on their bike smoking the shit out of cigars. Get as much nicotine in your body as possible. They would use cocaine.
Yeah, that I can get.
But I mean, you're looking at like dudes like Charlie Chaplin, who are out there. Like,
or high as a kite.
Purpose and cocaine was not illegal, and dope. Like these things. This is the interesting part is like, since the dawn of man, since man has been competing with men, there has always been performance enhancing something. They've looked for an edge.
I'm not
people would die on bicycle races because they would whatever it was, ingesting a bunch of cocaine and smoking cigars while dehydrated. Man, but if you can make it to the end and you survive, then you won. Or you would have a heart attack and die on the track. And that's okay too. That was the price you paid.
And I'm not gonna name him,
Mhm.
but he's a friend of mine. And if you're really smart, you can go figure out who won 2 Super Bowls for San Francisco back to back. He was on that team. So I have a shot where I've got his Super Bowl ring on. You know, it's like diamond encrusted and all that crap. Blah, 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 blah. But he told me that he had to stop playing pro ball as soon as steroids came into the picture. Because without steroids, like when they started testing for it,
Yeah.
he said, I couldn't pass the test. And I knew I couldn't play without it. It gave him that advantage. You know, he's a big dude to begin with because he is a lineman, you know, monstrous man. But without the steroids, he couldn't do the work. And he said that was the end of my career right there. I thought, wow, that's kind of weird. So, again, I'm not going to say his name. And don't check it up.
I'm not gonna look it up. I don't care.
No, it doesn't need to be.
I mean, it sounds like a long time ago anyway, and
Ah,
it doesn't sound like it's really that big of a deal.
no, it's not.
No.
He's cool. It's just, you know, you gotta show respect where respect is involved.
I mean, usually you wouldn't give so many hints.
Yeah, so we should probably wrap this up, huh?
If you were like, I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but he has a large head. He hijacks tonight's show by talking about suicide. He likes to work with the Aurora Borealis
Behind him.
behind him. Those are 3 hints that I'm going to give you. Outside of that, don't look it up. I don't. I don't want to be that guy. Like I told you so.
Whatever.
His name sounds like Geoffrey, but not exactly. Oh.
I gave enough information that you can go find it anytime you want. I already know that.
So here's what I know. Here's what I learned.
Oh, you learned?
My friend John. He was a good friend. The guilt that I have is he reached out to me on my Alexa. And it's because when we lived together and we lived on the same property, I had them synced up so he could drop in on mine, even though it was under a different account. So you can activate yours so then people can use it like a speaker, basically. You know, like
All right. Okay.
so they can be like, if I was to be like, Alexa, drop in on Matthew's, living room. If you add, you can authorize me permission to be able to do that. You can authorize me to be able to call.
Okay.
I don't want you to or call it like a cell phone. So if I want to say, call so and so, it'll call. We can have a conversation via audio that way. Well, this was really bizarre. He and I used it when we were on the same property, and then after the fact, we used it a few times. But if you left all permissions on, then somebody could just drop in without you knowing and listen to you, which is really weird. So I was always figured I'd keep that block on. Like, I don't mind if you knock, I'll knock on the door, I'll let you in. I just don't want to walk in the room and know that somebody's sitting there listening to what's going on. Like it's weird to me. Well, I'm sitting here on December 26th, and Christmas is always kind of bittersweet. He never celebrated it much. But I did have the opportunity to show him why Christmas was important. And we had a huge Christmas at his house with my family. And he cried and he said he never had that love growing up, like he never understood how
Awesome.
how impactful, how powerful these holidays could be when you had parents who actually loved you enough to make something of it.
That's great.
We had some, so we had some outstanding memories, that we shared together, which is why on December 26th, as I was in my easy chair, I had fallen asleep, and the strangest thing happened. He pops up on my television. My television doesn't have a camera on it, and there's no camera associated with it. He pops up on my TV, and it's like the top of his head, like his camera's a little bit off. But I realize he's coming through my Alexa device, and he's got an integrated one because he did his medicine and his healthcare stuff at home. So I think his was integrated. So he's like, hello, hello. And you can tell like there's nothing for him to see. But to have someone on my friend on my 50-inch TV, and I'm waking up and I'm not expecting a conversation at all anyway. I didn't say anything. Even though I could see him and I could hear him. I just wasn't in a spot mentally to start having a conversation like, hey, I haven't heard from you for a couple of years. How was your non-existent Christmas? Good. All right. I don't know. I sat there quietly, like don't move, don't breathe. And he goes, I can hear you, Geoffrey, I can hear you. And it was actually the sound of my rats drinking out of their water bottle. And he goes, I can hear you beating off over there. And they're hitting that water bottle. He goes, if I got this right, he goes, I think I'm connected to you. Then this would be one small step for Jeff, but one giant leap for John. And it would be because he's technologically retarded, and he knew this.
I relate.
Yes. So
I'm like, can you make this work? I don't know how it works.
And he's like, I think it's working, but he's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna wait around and just wait for you. So anyway, and he just hung out for a second and then he disconnected. And I was like, am I dreaming? Like, this is so bizarre. So bizarre. And yeah, he was right. It was like a big tech moment for him to figure out how to get a hold of me again through a method that we had used
technology
years.
With this.
Yeah. So I got one of my Logitech cameras and I plugged it into my TV. And I was like trying to figure out how to sync it with my Amazon thing. And I don't know that I did, but I was kind of prepping myself to have a follow-up conversation with him. Like I'm gonna call him back on my TV. And we'll follow up. And then a couple of days later, I realized I hadn't done that yet. And then part of me negotiated that, and I said, well, he really wants to talk to me, which is not fair to do. But if he reaches out again at all, like a message, a text, anything, call me and hang up on me, because there's really no trace the way that he went. He went in the most roundabout, sort of way possible. Where
That's all he knew.
well, I'm like he has my cell
It was
number,
a
like
struggle for him to even do that. So,
but he wanted to do the texting. He wanted to be like, haha, look, fucker, I don't need you. I got this figured out.
I can do this.
Right, right. And I had talked to him maybe a year before that. And I think he had called to let me know that a friend of his had passed, and that that friend had asked him to go out to lunch with him several times, and he kept coming up with reasons why he couldn't do it. He goes, me, I'm a recluse. I don't like doing shit like that. So I put him off, and 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 then he died. And then I realized, fuck, life is way too short. And this is like a midnight call I got like a year ago, probably. He goes, I just want to let you know that I love you forever, and I appreciate you being my friend, and I'm proud of you. And he's like, I don't do stuff like that, but I just felt like I needed to reach out to you just in case. So I was like, wow.
I hate to end this show on a bummer. But maybe that's what this show's about. I have a story for you. And I'm going to go as quickly as I possibly can, which means I'm going to go pretty slow. I'm a sea turtle at heart. So first off, a friend of mine who I played in many bands with, who was a drummer, he had he actually, not heart surgery, I shouldn't even say it that way. He had a heart transplant right at the same time that I was my heart issues. I thought my crap was bad.
Yeah.
This guy's getting a whole new fucking heart put in his body. I thought, oh well, I should shut up now because my little electrolyte issue is nothing compared to this. And he, not only being a musician, he was highly opinionated, and mostly in a good way. And I let it slide for the longest time. I let him kind of, bash bands, and he's just like, fuck Metallica, and, just on and on and on. All right?
Yep.
And then finally, the last was the bass player, speaking of Metallica, the bass player's kid got to sit in with Metallica and play, and he did a fantastic job. It was awesome. And he had a whole shit fit about it. And I wrote him and I was like, why do you have to be such a hater? Like, it was the first time I ever confronted him. It was like, we're all musicians. We all do this. We all travel in a certain world. Why are you hating so much? What is so wrong with you that you're so mad?
Was his name Robert Trujillo?
No.
The bass player?
No, he's a drummer. Oh, you're talking about Metallica? Yeah. Yeah. That guy, he's got a good gig.
Yeah. So you tell this guy off.
Yeah. And the next day he died. And I was like, shit. Like, my last words to him were awful. And I spoke my mind, and I wasn't nice about it. I'm usually, I try to be nice, although I'm learning now that usually I'm not that nice. people get kind of pissed at what I have to say because I'm a little too blunt, I guess. It's because if you're not paying me, I'm just gonna fucking tell you how it is. I don't have time to fuck around with all your shit. So that was
You find it to be an endearing quality?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Cool. Right on. So,
Hey,
as long as you have a reason behind your mission.
chicks dig it, man.
Your friend Matthew is kind of a dick. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's him.
Can't believe you don't get mad at him more often. What's the point?
He's not going to listen anyway.
Right. Yeah.
He's just going to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
He's an only child.
My options are Matthew positive or Matthew negative in my life. Like, you gonna have some Matthew? Then have some Matthew. No big deal. Hold on one second. Ouch. Oof. Oof. Oof.
I bought this beanie yesterday. Ironically, it's like olive green and it has an American flag like right here. I get to shift it around wherever I want it to be. It's so Texas. That's why I have it. Where'd you go? Am I supposed to be entertaining people right now? Do this. I learned that from my favorite teacher of all time, Dr. DiMatteo. He taught me how to do that.
Oh, hi.
I don't want to be rude, but did you put a fat filter on or what?
Did I put a fat filter on? Like, what happened?
I don't know. You just look larger than life. Yeah, you look like Chris Farley. Oh, now you look better.
Strange.
That was weird.
Really?
You literally were like, you look fine now. You looked fat as fuck for a second there. You can roll back and look at it later. Right there. Yeah. Is that a filter?
No. I mean, I'm looking at my.
How do you do that?
Hey, everybody. I just lift my shoulders up around my ears and then.
I don't think I can do that.
I mean, I'm not petite to say the least, but fat guy and a little toe.
That's right. You just read my mind, man. That's exactly it. My favorite part of Tommy Boy, and I know that's not Tommy Boy, but my favorite part is when he breaks the door on the car, and they're at the gas station, and then he like puts it back on, and then David Spade comes up and he opens it. He goes, "What'd you do?
What'd you do?" Yeah.
That is the funniest thing. I mean, evidently, I just watched something with David Spade explaining Tommy Boy and saying how we didn't even know if we had a movie. There was like no script. It's like we just went out and we just like, we're like, okay, today we'll do this. Today we'll do this. And that's all they did.
Yeah.
They just kept going for it. And then they created Tommy Boy. And it was like, I guess at the end of the whole entire thing, he said, if you went to an executive at Paramount or anybody like that and said, hey, I have an idea for a movie. It's about selling brakes for cars.
Right.
He's like, nobody would ever buy that. But those guys made it work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're gonna yeah. Callahan Auto.
That's right. And you got Danny DeVito in there, so you're, if Danny's in there, you're solid, man.
Oh, Danny Aykroyd.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yes, not DeVito. Aykroyd.
Let's wrap with a couple more minutes of Mr. Ken Block.
All right.
Kicking ass and taking name. I love the cutting brakes on there next to the dune buggy my folks had when I was growing up had cutting brakes. So you had one for the left, one for the right, or you can pull them both, depending on what you're trying to do. But yeah, it's cutting brakes on a drifting vehicle. It's a necessity. You're locking up that one tire just enough, that now it'll drift.
Yeah, it's there's a lot more that goes into it than just like, hey, I'm just driving the car.
Oh yeah.
That car was built for him.
Oh yeah, I can tell. Um,
I can't,
but
even as I watch it now, I can't imagine the skill level it takes to be able to drive like that. It's gotta
I
be,
can't. I can, and it's amazing. I learned how to drive everything off road because we went out to the desert all the time, right? So we had dune buggies and 3-wheelers, and getting into a car like a station wagon or my sister's Ford Festiva or my Toyota Corolla and taking it out across the desert and just dicking around was to me so much fun because you can control the vehicle so much differently.
yeah.
So I would see it as like my sister would be like, please be careful with my car. I'm like, it'll be fine, don't worry. I'm like 13. But I'm out there tapping it. It's whatever, front wheel drive, left wheel with the e-brake for the back right. And I would just slide everywhere I went was sliding. And I learned how to do that on my 70cc 3-wheeler and then my 185 3-wheeler. I learned how to stay on top of the gravel and how to use weight and force in order to move the vehicle around, which, knock on wood, was the reason why I never had a catastrophic accident, was because I had figured that out really early on. Both of my sisters broke themselves. They broke themselves into pieces. Everybody I knew wrecked a 3-wheeler and damaged themselves.
Yeah, I'm not sure where we were at in our childhood relationship at the point in time, but you know, my parents finally broke down and got a Honda, I don't know, I want to say a 110 3-wheeler.
Yep, with the big bubble tires.
Yeah, just big ass bubble tires, and we drove it up, up the hill there, right where we lived. It seemed like the thing to do. And then they let me ride it home. No helmet, nothing. And I guess, according to my dad, I took off and left them behind because that was back when, the gas was like your thumb.
Yep.
He pushed on it and that gave you the gas. And I was just like, woohoo, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm having
boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
Then I flipped it off the cliff and landed face first. I mean, day one of having this thing totally scarred my face up. I was bloody all over the place, landed on my head. It was horrible. And of course, we didn't go to the doctor because, we were poor. So,
yes, flesh wound.
But yeah, great. Just crazy.
You had the Husqvarna motorcycle.
Whoa, what was it called?
Husqvarna.
Oh, you remember? See,
yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day about it because I was like, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't a Honda.
Correct. It was a yellow and black Husqvarna.
Yeah, Husqvarna. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, the Husqvarnas were Swedish, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. They make all sorts of vehicles, and they make sewing machines. Yeah, it was funny. It was buying my now ex Husqvarna sewing machine. That was a $2,500 professional sewing machine. I got it 90% off.
You make
that I remembered your motorcycle.
Yeah, you make me think about that because I'm not sure where that motorcycle ended up.
Yeah, it was an 80cc, I believe. It was like 70 or 80cc, and yeah, it was on the right side of the garage.
I don't think I ever received any money I'm doing that. I should.
Every now and then, I'd get you to start it up. Yeah.
Hey, keep playing this Ken Block shit, man. This is good. It gets better.
What's that?
So did you see all the tire marks?
Oh yeah, going around that bend.
Yeah, well, no, you had to do it that many times. Right here. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Back that shit up.
I think they're gonna do it for us. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, can you imagine?
He's like, yeah,
You're gonna die. That's where you should die, not on a snowmobile.
that's beautiful.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's definitely where you should live. On the edge. Millions.
He is so badass, man. Like, is.
Dude, he reminds me of like Jesse James.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, he's kind of a nerd. He's like us, you know.
So he was a rally car driver. What made him blow up? What made him? You know,
I don't know. I mean, he was creating viral videos like this.
Whoa.
I mean, there's one that's LA where they literally shut down LA and he gets to rip through it. Which I don't know how they negotiated that. I mean, that's just insane.
That's amazing.
He was pretty much one of a kind.
That's what it's like the mountains outside of Tucson. It's so that it looks like that.
Look at
Yeah.
Believe that?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it probably took like 7 or 8 times to do it correctly, but
still, my God.
Still pulled it off at some point. And he doesn't hide it, you know. Like checker flags. You win, you win.
Yeah, I don't need the copyright on that one.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, R.I.P.
Flagged immediately for that.
For real. For real.
He's just it's too bad that he's gone.
Right.
Like I said, it's weird the way sometimes somebody passes and and I don't think anything of it. And then like somebody else passes, and I'm like, damn.
You don't realize like what a spot in your heart they had taken up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But he's a guy that I have full respect for, and you know, I love it. You know, I was watching, but we got to get off this thing at some point. I was watching Robin
You're
Williams.
still talking.
What's that?
So you're still talking.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm listening.
All right. I was watching Robin Williams when he was on the Tonight Show, when he was really young, when it was more from work. And he dominated the show. He just totally took over.
Hmm.
And they couldn't even control him.
Right.
He was out of control, but in a good way, you know, like,
Yep. Once he started riffing, it just came.
yeah. And so he you know, at one point he just jumped up, walked off stage. He's like, let's mess with the cameraman. And he's like running around like, they don't know where to point the camera. They don't know where to point the camera. And it was like, oh man, I can't believe you're getting away with this. But he always kept it at a nice level. You know, there was nothing inappropriate. And it was Johnny Carson was running that show at that time. And Johnny Carson actually started to get a little looser because there was a point where Robin was like, can I have some of your coffee? He's like, yeah. And he kept hitting it. And he's like, it's coffee. He goes, yeah. And I have a watch for you to buy. You know, like it wasn't coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee, you know, I mean, Johnny was just going for it, you know. He started to get
Loose.
I think he was trying to get control over what was going on, but there was no controlling what was going on.
So when Robin passed,
He was
he was one of those guys that was like, I feel like I had the wind knocked out of me. You know, Robin Williams.
I thought you were going to say that he was kind of like an Andy Kaufman.
No, he's a Robin Williams.
Well, yeah, but Andy came first and kind of laid the groundwork, you know. So the guy,
I think Andy was more performance artist, and Robin was more performance art. I think Kaufman was original and unique because he would take ownership of all parts of the experience that you would have of what it is his sense of humor was trying to convey. As awkward or uncomfortable or long and protracted, it didn't matter.
see,
And I love that about him.
I could be wrong, but I don't see it that way. I think, and maybe it's just that I relate with it, that Andy Kaufman's whole entire deal was, as long as it's funny to me, that's all.
Oh yeah.
Is that different than what you just said? Like,
No, it's I think we just stated it in different ways.
okay, all right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and Andy would own it, the bit, the all parts of it, because
And that's what you meant by that. Okay, yes.
yeah, it didn't matter how uncomfortable it would become at some point, because he knew it was hilarious.
Just to him and his buddy.
And if he's stuck with it, then yeah. That's why I tell my kids, if you give your punchline and it doesn't land, double down. Just give it again.
That's right. That's right.
And if it doesn't land, do it again. You can deliver your punchline until they laugh, in spite of you. They can laugh because it's awkward that you keep doing it. It's still the laugh. That was a great thing about Kaufman.
Two things with Andy was number one, it destroyed Taxi for me. I loved Taxi. I loved it all the way down to I had a record label called Rieger Records at one point in time, because Rieger Records to me was Alex Rieger. You know, he was the only guy who would say, "I'm a cab driver. This is what I do." Everybody else, I'm an actor, I'm doing this, you know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Everybody had something else.
Right.
And Alex was like, I just drive a cab. This is what I do. I'm done. And I really respected that. I was like, wow, you know, I'm gonna name a label after this, Rieger Records. And so I did. Yeah, not that anything else it's worth shit.
And then Andy Kaufman ruined that out.
Well, because once I knew how disappointed Andy was in being on Taxi and he hated it, I couldn't see him in the same vein anymore. He wasn't that kind of, you know.
Because they wouldn't let him outside of the Lot for Gravis character.
Yeah, and he had to do it. He had to get paid. The other thing that I really liked about him was the fact that you know, even through his success, he always maintained a job as a busboy. You know that, but that's what he would do, and they'd be like, "Aren't you?" And he'd go, "No," and he'd move on. You know, he just picked up the dishes and moved on. It kept him grounded in the world of you know.
Did it keep him grounded? Or were his eccentricities just explained later on and attributed to the sort of?
You never know with him, and that's the point. You never know. The guy could still be alive today, and we would not know. You know,
Well, it's like everybody kept looking around during his funeral.
yeah, yeah. Is he gonna pop out of the coffin? You know,
Right.
like they don't know. That would be a totally Andy thing to do. You know,
But sadly, he just died.
I think so, and I think that's why the Man on the Moon movie with Jim Carrey. I think that's what that was. The whole point was like, let's really talk about how this works and what actually happened. And so even at the end, he knew the joke was on him. And hey, let's not forget Tony Clifton. Man's a genius.
Is he still doing Tony?
No, I don't think anybody's doing Tony.
That was interesting. The fact that they were.
Well, Well, because him and his cohort, it'd be like
They were interchangeable.
be like you and me trying to figure out like, can we put something together and then just like fake it?
Yeah.
And we would crack up about it because they'd be paying for it.
Right. Then you would show up as Tony Clifton, as me,
You would be Tony Clifton. I'd show up as Andy.
as right, or whatever, right? Like it didn't matter. But whatever the expectation was always, wait, is this Tony Clifton or is this Tony Clifton as Andy Kaufman as Tony Clifton? Like,
Yeah.
who do we have on the show?
It's that confusing.
And Kaufman's like, on vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
He
He's like laying on a beach somewhere. His buddy's out doing the work, and they're paying way too much money because they think that they're getting and
that's hilarious if you think about it.
Right? Yeah. It's like
you came up with a joint act that would just allow you to mutually fuck with everybody.
Yep. There you go.
Was that in the movie? Was that what's his name?
Jim Carrey?
No, it was Jim Carrey and
Andy DeVito?
Who?
Andy DeVito.
No, DeVito didn't play Clifton.
Oh, no. Oh, you're talking no.
Who played Clifton? He's a
great actor.
Yeah, it's
Phenomenal actor. And I should know his name, but I don't.
one of his first. Huh?
And he was
Under the come up. One of his first.
Played the agent.
He was in Howard Stern, Private Parts, the movie. He played
Oh yeah, he's
the NBC executive.
Hey, he was also in
He played John Adams. He played John Adams. He was in.
Let's go end style here. Straight Outta Compton. The agent.
Paul Giamatti. That guy Paul Giamatti, he's great. Great actor.
Was he in Straight Outta Compton? He played the Jewish producer guy who was just like,
Paul Giamatti.
You can't treat him like this. You don't know who I know.
15 of his greatest films. 5'9", Sideways, Billions, Big Fat Liar, John Adams, The Illusionist, Shoot 'Em Up, Cinderella Man. Oh my gosh. I loved Howard Stern, Private Parts. I love the book. I love the movie.
I do too.
I never loved him. I didn't like watching him on TV. I mean, I was okay watching him on late night TV, but I didn't like his show, which is really funny because I liked him in all other medium. I like him a lot.
He's a little overboard at times.
Haley wanted CDs and a CD player for Christmas, so I got her 40 CDs and to add to her collection. One of them was the Private Parts soundtrack. In 1996, 95, I guess, when that came out, I used to use quotes.
Wait. But you didn't buy any of my CDs?
What? Wait, what?
I'm just fucking with you.
You were too quiet.
Oh, I said you didn't buy any of my CDs.
Oh, you were not at the thrift store.
Oh, really? Are you sure? because you gotta, you kind of gotta dig deep.
I wanted her to have music that you would recognize.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice job.
Nice. So in Private Parts, Paul Giamatti plays pig vomit.
Yeah, that's right.
It was actually or pig virus that was originally on the radio, but pig vomit. And I loved his little outtakes so much on that CD. I would use them during my radio shows. You have violated my wife. You have violated the sanctity of my home. Remember he calls up his wife and gets her to, I believe, have an orgasm on the radio. Howard Stern, I'll tell you, there ain't no God while Howard Stern's walking the earth.
I don't remember it that way, but
He would be so mad at the end.
I do know where they use that point where he's like, "Do you have a great sound system or whatever?" and lay your speaker on the floor and do that.
Oh yeah, maybe that wasn't his wife who he got to ride the speak.
Yeah.
It must have been the yeah, that was somebody else. But I think he called to ask if he was getting laid because he was always so uptight at work.
Oh boy. So that's really cool.
What is this? What is this?
I need to play that game. That looks really cool.
The average radio listener listens for 18 minutes. The average Howard Stern fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes.
How can that be?
Answer most commonly given, I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate Stern?
Good point. The average Stern hater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
But if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's the end. That's basically it.
Howard, I'm bored with being God.
Early in the morning, when most of us are still sleeping, there's a madman loose on the Baltimore-Washington airwaves.
I will make light rain.
Rain?
Maybe a little bit of snow.
Have mercy.
That'll get ya.
Have mercy, Your
This
Holiness.
is God on DC 101.
Have mercy on my soul.
Howard Stern needs you. He needs you to tell a friend about the show.
Dial-a-ding. Hey, listen, man, relax. Take it easy.
Howard rants and raves with his producer, Earth Dog Fred Norris, and News Lady Robin Quivers, at a time when most of us are barely moving.
Hold on, we'll put you through to him. What do you want to speak to Howard about?
Stern is ready and raring to go, though, and anyone with a phone and a thick skin is invited to join in the madness.
My 3.5-year-old granddaughter walks around all day saying, "Joe Mammy is so ugly, she looks like my tush."
Gee, it's a bright kid you got there. It's certainly something to be proud of. You still got your teeth, the original teeth?
Of course.
Imagine this woman being your grandmother.
No, really, my 3.5-year-old
Hey, honey.
loves you.
It's something about old people when they get on the phone, they love to talk about their personal life. And I know it's real interesting to you, but we got to move along.
No, I want to talk about your personal life.
What is it, darling?
Oh, I think it's the most interesting.
Is she dying? What's going on?
What are you gagging? What are you gagging?
Oh, I'm
That's the
laughing.
most interesting.
I'm laughing.
Man, when I get to your age, I hope they shoot me.
Oh, I hope so, too.
Howard's wild and sometimes tough attitude, mixed with rock music, have made...
Oh my, what a good flashback.
Wow. No, I'm going to have to watch that later because I like to see that. That's
Before he became the corporate shill.
yeah.
That's wild.
Before he's on Sirius and all that. You know.
Well, he's the whole reason satellite radio exists. That's the reason, though, I got into radio. Yeah, not just him, but so much fun. So much fun. Howard Stern. There ain't no God. When Howard Stern's walking the earth, I'll tell you that.
I remember staying up super late in like band rooms and stuff where we had a television if we were lucky. And we stayed up just to watch his show.
Mm-hmm.
That was when he was doing butt bongos and hobo whatever, you know. It was all so outrageous.
Oh yeah. You get the homeless people in the shopping carts.
Yeah. Everything.
And then
he finally hit the lesbian thing. And
my name is Crackhead Bob. The Crackhead Bob.
Yeah.
So good. Beetlejuice. He's the little midget guy with a small head.
Those guys came along a little bit later, though. I mean, they weren't in the beginning. You know, I've never figured out like exactly how "Hey Now" comes into play, because I know that I don't remember that guy. He got tossed out pretty quick. You know, he was kind of out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a producer or what his deal was, and I don't know if he was even kicked out. I just know that he would just do the "Hey Now," you know, he'd get on that thing real quick, and you started hearing it everywhere. It was ridiculous. All right,
I think it was Jackie Jokeman Martland.
Oh yes.
Yep, he was with him for a long time. He had him on the show because he was quick with the jokes.
Right.
This outtake.
Stern.
Listen to it.
He's been very successful, and God bless him. God bless him. But I'll tell you something, I ain't done too badly myself. I manage a shopping mall down in Florence, Alabama. Yeah, it's the #1 mall in Colbert County. It's #4 in the state, so it's not too bad, you know. I play golf several times a week, you know. But I'll tell you, if Howard would have listened to me, I'd still be up there in radio. Still be doing radio, you know. How about that? That goddamn motherfucker, you know. I tried every fucking thing I could fucking think of to mold him into a proper kind of DJ, but that goddamn son of a bitch. I tell you so, Howard Stern, man. That motherfucking goddamn degenerate fucking cunt. I'll say that with no shame either. Man's a fucking foul-mouthed immature. The man's immature, you know. He's like a fucking child. I'll tell you this much. There ain't no God while Howard Stern's walking the earth, I'll tell you that. Fuck it, I gotta go. Fucking Howard Stern. How about that? Howard Stern, huh? Fucking Howard Stern can kiss my ass in hell. Foul-mouthed immature. The man's immature.
I just love Paul Giamatti should have won an Oscar for the outtake.
Immature, you know. He's like a fucking child.
Fucking child.
I'll tell you this much. There ain't no God while Howard Stern's walking the earth, I'll tell you that. Fuck it, I gotta go.
God, while Howard Stern is walking the earth.
Fucking Howard Stern.
Howard Stern.
How about that? Howard Stern, huh? Fucking Howard Stern can kiss my ass in hell.
That's how the end of the movie. I thought it was so classic.
You know what? I have nothing to prove this on, but I think that guy who walked by was not part of the cast at all. I think that was just him.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's just out a man on the street. Yeah, he was a rando.
Yeah, and he's just like Howard Stern, you know. And the guy's just like,
all right.
Good work. I expect this.
I think I'm gonna have to appropriate the audio for myself. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but you had mentioned Jackie.
Yeah.
And that wasn't him.
Who? What?
Jackie the Joke Man?
Yeah. Who wasn't him?
Well, the video you played, that wasn't him.
No, this is Paul Giamatti as Pig Vomit.
Yeah, I know. Oh, okay. Well, you let in with like talking about Jackie.
Oh, I was just answering what I thought was your question regarding who made that. Hey there.
Oh, is that okay? Is that who did that?
I think Jackie the Joke Man was the one who coined that phrase. Not this guy. This guy was.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I didn't get that. I didn't put all that together. Hey now,
Gary Delabate. Does he still work with him? Baba Booey.
Oh boy. Boy, now we really sound old.
Gary Delabate's got like those big teeth.
The end of our show has become looking at 1990s. Shit.
Hey now, being discussed on the Howard Stern show. Beetlejuice returns to the Howard Stern show for the first time in 5 years. Hey now, Howard Stern on David Letterman, 1988. Jeffrey Tambor. Oh, it was Jeffrey Tambor. No way. From the Larry Sanders Show. Is that right?
Shout Factory TV, changing the channel.
Huh. Well,
Larry Sanders, really?
I may have spoken out of turn. It happens. Yeah, because there's all these books about Howard, but it says it's Jeffrey Tambor from.
My hair. This is the theme to Larry's show. The opening theme to Larry's show. Larry called me up and asked me to write a theme song. Okay, it's almost finished. What do you like so far? Larry Sanders Show.
You know, Hank, I was just wondering why you say that "hey now" thing.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just something that you used on the show, and now you're starting to use it in your personal life, and it's an affectation of some sort, isn't it? Did you ever say "hey now" as a kid?
No, I don't. I probably didn't. But I said hey.
Yeah.
And I said now. I mean, at different times, but I never put them together till later in life. So, in that sense, it's part of my personality.
You know, Hank, this isn't easy for me, but would you mind not doing it on the show anymore? Because, frankly, I'll tell you the truth.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that when you do your you do this, that isn't the same affectation? That isn't the same as my "hey now"?
There, you just said it again, and you know, I asked you not to say it.
I can't say it off stage either?
It doesn't even exist. Use "hey now" in a sentence, Hank.
Hey now, that was real funny.
You know what, Hank? It's not even in the dictionary, "hey now."
Okay, this is how I use "hey now" in a sentence, okay? You say, And of course, my sidekick, Hank.
And of course, my sidekick, Hank.
Hey now.
Hank?
That's a sentence.
No. Hank, listen.
That's a
I
sentence.
just prefer you not do it on the show anymore, okay? I just, it gets on my nerves, it gets on the audience's nerves as well.
Sir. No,
Yes,
sir.
it does.
No.
Hank?
Look, you're not out there. And believe me, it's very big with the audience. And I'm going to tell you something else. I think it helps make the show work. It's part of our whole interplay on camera.
By interplay, you mean the times we're both awake?
Hey now.
Just cut down on it. Could you do that, please?
That's funny. Hey now.
Hey now.
I forgot how good that was.
Yeah.
Larry called me up and he asked me to write his theme song.
Yeah, I know. I had to memorize the lyrics to that because I was so, and I still remember them today, which I don't remember many things today. But yeah.
How about what's his name? Larry Sanders Show theme song. How about the theme song to what's his name? Frasier. Frasier wrote the theme song to Frasier.
Really?
Yeah. And it's about tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah, and I never understood that.
Well, so tossed salad and scrambled eggs are both musical references to jazz music, and it's the parts of the jazz melody that breaks it up and gives it kind of that funk, and then brings it back together. So they'll be like, "Yeah, a little tossed salad over there. Yeah, little scrambled eggs. Give me some scrambled eggs." And then it's when you would riff in between the melody and bring the riff back together. So he wrote a song.
I would think I would know that, but
about the riff, which is amazing.
Because I always did question that, because I was disappointed when they took Frasier off of Netflix, because that was I need sleep TV.
Mm-hmm.
I need voices at a low volume so that I can just kind of chill out and, not use my brain. And Frasier, with the exception of the first season, second season on, was pretty good. It was pretty mellow. It was pretty calm. I like to use, now I have to go to, New Girl. I use that, and I use New Girl.
Frasier's tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah, no, I've always wondered what that was about. And
so the author of the song, Ken Levine, who was a former Frasier writer, he tracked down Bruce Miller, composer of the sitcom's theme song, and asked him to explain those puzzling, possibly salacious lyrics, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Levine came through in his response. I was told to avoid any direct references to specific subject matter, so it was necessary to stay away from words about psychiatry, radio shows, the name Frasier, or anything else directly indicating aspects of the show. I called my friend Daryl Fanice, who's really talented and really smart. I gave him the idea of the show, and he called back with the idea of tossed salad and scrambled eggs. At first, I was a bit baffled myself until he explained that these were things that were mixed up. Like Frasier Crane's Patience, Vulture would have gone with
Hold on a second. About
In 5. Four, three, two. Live on tape from Hollywood, The Larry Sanders Show. Tonight, join Larry and his guests, John.
I've been getting paid $1,000 a month, if not more, just from this app on my phone. And I don't know if
But I really can't stay. I'm actually off to the post office to pick up a package. I think it's another book from my book club. And that's right, I read. What, is that so startling? I happen to think there's a lot more to life than just watching television. You can read about it, too. Did you know that? That's why I belong to the Television Biography Book of the Month Club. The TVBBO-TMC. I'm sure you've heard of it. And let's take a look.
This is the theme to Gary Show. The theme to Gary Show. Gary called me up and asked if I would write his theme song. I'm almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far? How do you like the theme to Gary Show?
Oh.
dead air and temper good.
Well,
Show right here.
Nice.
So
If I would write his theme song, I'm almost halfway finished. How do you like it so far? How do you like the theme to Gary Show? This is the theme to Gary Show, the opening theme to Gary Show. This is the music that you hear as you watch the credits. We're almost to the part of where I start to whistle. Then we'll watch it's Gary Shandling Show. This was the theme to Gary Shandling Show.
This is this is my favorite one. This is Desi, a book. And they're making a movie out of this. And it's going to be called Desi, a book.
All right, so okay, that was funny. But when I said how's my hair, I was really into that show because we had HBO illegally, but we had it. And so I got to watch that show.
Channel 20.
And that is the line that Gary would always do. He was like, how's my hair? Like just randomly, constantly doing that.
He's from Tucson.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I know that.
Yep.
He was a very talented comedian and writer. Like he understood the craft of a joke. You know, he could write it out correctly, and that show was hysterical. He walked around in a robe all the time around his house, you know, kind of like I wouldn't say a Playboy bunny-ish thing because his robe wasn't like that, but just he did that. And he would just go like, how's my hair? You know, like, yeah, he would break that fourth wall every once in a while and just like do it. And you were just kind of like, seriously?
He passed away 6 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that the whole entire show actually existed on one set. Like it was just his house. People would and that was it. Like as low budget as you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Which I respect because then it's like now you got to write something worth listening to. You know, you gotta get that frame of mind. You know, and there's very few shows that are out there that are like that. You know, off the top of my head, MASH is one of them. Not to say that MASH didn't move a little bit, but for the most part, they're just in their tent. You know, maybe they go to the mess hall occasionally.
Right.
Maybe they go a little farther out towards the end, but for the most part, you got a couple of doctors sitting there with a still that they've created, you know, just, you know, working their way through the day.
Basically what long form podcasts have become.
I didn't understand any of that.
It's basically what long form podcasting has become. If you got a couple of people who are just having a conversation and it's entertaining enough, you're like a fly on the wall and just wondering what they're going to say next. They're just living their life, not trying to make something up, not trying to be more impactful than they need to be. Just sharing their point of view.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, because I needed to use the restroom, I was thinking to myself, how does Joe Rogan go for 4 hours and never have to pee?
He's got a strong bladder.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
On the last Houston trip, you know. Get kiddo, you know.
Well, they go for 3 hours usually, and then it's and they'll take pee breaks as they need to. So He can stick it out, but if you gotta pee, you gotta pee.
Yeah, well, I have to pee way too often.
Well, he probably doesn't have a full bladder going into it. So he's like, and usually if he drinks whiskey on the show. So it's not a lot of fluids. It's like, but when they start drinking beer on the show, the few times I've seen it, then it's like nonstop. Everybody's up between like every 10 minutes. It's pretty funny.
Huh. Okay, I can see. I don't watch enough of the shows to know any of that. So I feel a little better because I'm like, yeah. I mean, beer is like, now I have to pee all the time.
Right.
Coffee, boy, you better watch out, man. You don't know what's going to happen with coffee.
We got double stimulants. So your kidneys, if working correctly, will process 4 ounces of liquid per hour, which means it'll absorb it into your body. Your body can absorb 4 ounces per hour. Anything in excess of 4 ounces, it gets pushed around and filtered and then comes out as urine or sweat or whatever metabolites. But outside of 4 ounces an hour, your body can't use it. So that's why you piss. So if you wanted to not have to pee during, a length of time, you would have to start yourself and make sure you empty your bladder in the morning. And then don't drink more than like 4 ounces. Or realistically, not more than like 5 or 6 ounces. Because your bladder only holds about 6 ounces. And that's when it gets full. But if you want to just to go a length of time, you can drink, keep yourself hydrated, but just know that 4 ounces is as much as your body can handle without pushing it past the goalkeeper.
That sounds like a lot of math, and I'll be honest, I'm not gonna do that.
So 1 beer for every 3 hours, you'd be safe. That'd be it. So then you're like, that's why the first time I drank a 40, I had to piss so bad. Like, yeah. Oh, I miss those days.
And I shouldn't tell this story, but
no one's listening.
I'm pretty sure nobody's listening. All right. So my ex-wife and I, we're trying to buy a car for our daughter, because she's 16. It would really benefit both of us if she had her own fucking car. Quit driving. You've probably been there. And I'm doing my best. I'm trying so hard. I'm hunting. I'm searching, and the internet is off. It really is. I didn't understand that the swill merchants have really taken over selling cars, and so it's really bad. So we make a trek last Friday, which is an hour and 45 minutes away, to see a car that we think is going to be good. And honestly, the car was good, except the part that should have had the windshield wipers on it was gone. And when we came back, I literally just drove around the block. I mean, I floored it, I slammed it, it held, and everything was good. We went around the block, and I realized there's no windshield wiper. I'm like, this car's not even gonna pass inspection at this point.
One,
Then we pull up.
you have to have windshield wipers.
Yeah, they're kind of important.
Cool.
Maybe not where you live, but I live. And I pull up. I'm unlocking everything. I'm using the key. I'm using the door. I'm doing everything I can do. My ex can't get out of the car. It won't open from the inside.
Like a got part.
So I walked around and I'm like, click. I'm like, all right, there you go. But I'm buying a car for my 16-year-old daughter. I'm not buying a car that doesn't, open on the passenger side and doesn't have windshield wipers. So just ridiculous crap like that. Just dealing with, like I said, the swill merchants. They're out there.
So they knew it didn't have these things. They were just hoping someone would buy it without paying attention.
I guess I don't know. I popped the hood. There was minimal amount of rust. It wasn't that bad. But he's like, yeah, take it for test drive. Keys are in there. I'm like, all right. Did it. Came back. And I said, they weren't even paying attention. They didn't even want to sell. And so finally the guy, I said, we're going to pass. So there's no windshield wipers. Oh, well, we have the thing. I'm thinking, well, that's great. If you have the thing, why is it not put on the vehicle? Because don't ask me to do it because I don't know shit about cars. And I said, and by the way, the door doesn't open on the passenger side from the inside. I really think this car was stolen at some point. There was all kinds of little things going on with it. So it was ridiculous. He goes, okay. I'm like, all right. Just walk away. But
what would indicate that it was stolen?
The dashboard was kind of ripped apart, which I don't have a problem with. I don't care that there's parts of the dashboard that are broken off and things like that. That's, we're talking about the first car for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, mine was a 76 Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, well, mine was a Mazda GLC.
What was yours?
By the way, it had the smallest engine in its class.
What was it?
Mazda GLC.
Mazda?
Mazda. All right.
You had a Mazda.
Why are you questioning?
I don't remember it.
Well, I don't think we hung out at that point.
I think my
But don't worry, because I took that same car to let's make sure I got this right. And this is something you should probably pull up. This could be funny on the, Earl Shot. I'll paint your car for $99.95.
Yep.
I went to Earl Shot. It wasn't $99.95. It was a little more by that point, but he gave me the crappiest paint job I could ever ask for. And yeah, Yeah.
Well, if you paid more,
you can pull up an Earl Scheib video.
Yeah, pulling it up right now.
Commercial.
Yeah, I got it. If he had like two prices. One price would paint the outside of the car.
That's right.
The second price, which was like $20 more, they would open the doors and paint the paint the inside too. Otherwise, it was two-toned.
The guy
For
got
$100, it was two-toned.
He had it. He was just like, "You want a fucking shitty paint job? I'll sell it to you."
Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys right now. Earl Scheib. When I graduated high school, my grandmother gave me $300 to get my car painted. I never did. I always painted it myself.
Hey,
here we go. Screen one. Take one.
Oh, good golly.
I'm Earl Scheib. I'll paint any car for just $99.95.
This week only, you'll get polyurethane additive free. A $19.95 value absolutely free. With polyurethane, your paint job will have an extra hard glass-like finish and added durability. Your paint job will be guaranteed not to fade for 4 full years. Remember, free polyurethane this week only at Earl Scheib's.
Free polyurethane?
Any car for just $99.95.
Hi, drop shippers. It's time to focus on what you do.
Earl Scheib.
I'll paint any car for $99.95.
So go to Wix.com/
I think they had an Earl Scheib over in El Cajon.
Yeah.
Off of Johnson.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. You're exactly right. That's where it went. Yeah, you're right.
What color did you get?
Well, it was supposed to be brown, but it ended up looking like a turd by the end of it.
Why would you accept it to be brown? You wanted it brown?
The car was brown to begin with, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm Earl Scheib. I'll paint any.
Better get Mako. Earl Scheib. Real Mako paint job review a year and a half later. New Year's celebration. Andrew Tate. Cheap Rust. Earl. I wonder if he still does it. Earl Scheib, 92 Corvette. No, that's a 77.
I don't even think he's probably alive.
Now, get an even better paint job at Earl Scheib.
Beautiful car.
Scheib.
Introducing Earl Scheib's deluxe and premium paint services.
Yeah.
I love this color.
Earl Scheib. Now choose from 3 quality paint services from just $124.95.
Wow.
The car looks new again.
This week, get clear top coat just $24.95. Location near you.
Earl Scheib, we make your car look new.
Right.
5.
That's
With
amazing.
around the country, classic cars in good to excellent condition are viewed as an investment, and the condition of the paint on these cars adds to that value.
Yeah, they really can be beautiful. Well, tonight a car collector
Oh, they really can.
disappointed with the quality of the paint recently applied to his 62-year-old Cadillac.
He tells 6 on Your Side consumer reporter Don Dare bubbles are the problem with the new paint job on his car.
That's exactly right, Elizabeth. The car has been repainted twice in 2 years, but the blisters or bubbles continue to pop up on the finish.
Oh, no.
Bring a car back to its original glory. A functional older car can be transformed with a coat of fresh paint, but Chuck Finazzo doesn't view the new paint on his classic Caddy as an investment. In its day, this fully equipped 1960 Cadillac Fleetwood was top of the line. Even in this day, it gets a lot of attention. However, the owner is disappointed in the condition of the new paint on his classic car. In March of 2020, Chuck Finazzo took his Caddy to Mako on Western Avenue in Knoxville, which was then under different management and ownership. In the shop, the old paint was stripped and primed, and during the process, old bodywork was repaired. Also, dings and dents were removed. The bill was $3,500. Warranty on the work was for 5 years. In May of 2020, he got...
So stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you paid $3,500 on a classic car.
Why would you do that?
To have a shitty job done. You're like, this isn't fair. Well, life isn't fair. Like, had you paid enough, you would have had them strip it down to bare metal. You know, prime it, coat it, prime it, coat it.
You know what I would do?
Paint it. Wow.
I would just primer the whole entire thing. I know it's asking to be stolen at that point when you do that, because you've kind of done half the work for the thieves. But a primered car to me is sweet.
You just like primer gray?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just like it. I think it looks cool.
Like a battleship gray.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're asking. You're asking to get ripped off, but I think it's cool. I like it.
Well, you should then.
Especially if it's a classic car like that one, or anything in that era. It's like, yeah, just primer it and let me drive it. You know, like you know where rat rods are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like rat rods.
Just make it look half done is good. Half done is good enough.
As long as what's under the hood works, and there's 4 wheels, I'm comfortable driving, I don't care. The rest of it can, you know, look like rust and whatever else. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm not out to, you know, I don't know, be impressive or something like that.
Cal Worthington and his dog Spud.
Yeah. And hey, I'm going to say it real quick, even though I shouldn't, but nobody's watching. I don't drive a Lamborghini. And there's a reason why.
Because you don't have Lamborghini money? Yeah. Was it you and I that were watching Cal Worthington spots? And then we found that guy who was talking crap about the guy's car dealership?
Yep.
That was so funny. Ralph Williams, Bayshore Drive, come down. He'll rip you off. Let me show you how. That was amazing. Like, how did this stuff get on there?
But you gotta love his dog.
Magazines, you've read it in the newspapers. In fact, perhaps you've even seen the owner's picture. Ralph Williams, the owner of Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth, 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. You notice the big bald-headed son of a bitch? The man that came to San Francisco to offer them more for the dollar they spend. The man that came to San Francisco to rape each and every citizen in the whole San Francisco Bay Area. You don't believe it? Listen to me. I don't lie. Take a fucking car like this. A 1966 Ford, a Country Squire 9-passenger station wagon. Don't worry about the equipment. Imagine all the fun you can have in the back. And while you're doing it, imagine all the money that bald-headed prick Ralph Williams is going to be making on the car he's trying to fuck you out of. Yes, the man that'll take every dime out of the San Francisco Bay Area and spend it on prostitutes, booze, and, of course, crap tables in the city of Las Vegas. I'm sure you've heard about it. So remember this. If you'd like to get fucked and hooked real hard before you buy a car, come down here. Let Ralph Williams do it. Why not? Why not somebody else? Remember, our address is 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. But if you come from Marin County, East Bay Area, or San Jose, your money spends just as well as anybody else's. And when this bald-headed son of a bitch gets hold of you, you will spend money. Talking about payments, 5 years payments of $100 a month. You can't get even. So shop before you buy. Bayshore, Chrysler Plymouth.
How do you how
does that possibly get on
how
there?
are you allowed to even do
Because
that?
There's no regulation. When you're dealing when you're dealing with the studio,
Language is off the charts.
you bought the TV time. It was usually on the weekends, Sunday night, Saturday night. You bought the time, so the executives aren't there. They don't care. They send a cameraman down to your spot, the lighting man, and they're like, okay, well, car dealership bought the next 4 hours on the station. It's yours. Go. There's no 10-second delay. There's no.
All of a sudden, you're just like slanderous and
Yeah.
profanity.
They're not expecting. They wouldn't expect that some pissed off employee was gonna, just talk shit about the owner the whole time. How would they know?
Wow.
Seriously, it's like 1 or 2 people remote, like, all right, I'm down at the dealership this weekend. I love it. Somebody was disgruntled.
My brain goes 2 directions. So part of my brain goes, do you think these guys were in cahoots? Like, that guy was so perfect in what he said and the way he did it and everything he did, even with the arm movement, like the fisting thing, like everything was so good. I don't know. It almost seems like, maybe Cal was selling cars and this guy was also selling cars. And they came together and they're like you said, we can just buy some airtime and we can say whatever we want because nobody's paying attention.
Well, this wasn't related to Cal. This just came up on YouTube because I typed it in.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So I'm way off.
But nonetheless, it's somebody separate. No, like you gotta think like people who are good at sales. If you had the ability and you had a sales pitch, you can work a sales pitch no matter how big your room was or what the topic was. So from confidence to mannerisms to, pointing out
it's all the script,
value and all the other stuff. Yeah, it's all a skill. That guy just is a classic 1970s like salesman. Like he's the guy they write plays about. There's that certain personality.
Well, in dealing with Angelica and 29th of December, she got her license. And she is car happy right now. Last week, she drove my car more than I did. Which, I don't have a problem with, but there are times that, it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes I got to say, hey, I need my car. Which is why I get her a car. So that being said, she she doesn't understand exactly how car salesmen work. And the little bit of experience that her mom and I have had to deal with, it's been so negative that she's just like, I hate this. I'm thinking, wow, you hate it? I'm like, me and your mom are the ones out there dealing with it, How can you hate it? But what she wanted was she wanted to come home to a new, not a new car, but a car. So she's like, why do they do this? Why do they behave like this? Why do they say this? Why do they do this thing? These are all frustrations that I have myself, but I can't exactly acknowledge them in front of her. So I reverted back to, I said, hey, you know what? So, Guitar Center? Guitar Center was opened by a guy who used to be a used car salesman. He brought that philosophy into the music world. And that's what we used to have to deal with. I don't think it exists anymore. I'm not speaking poorly of Guitar Center, because I know they're in bed with Fender now, all those kinds of things. And hey, it's good. You can walk in and just say, I want this guitar. It's $250, $300, whatever.
Right.
Okay,
You don't have to worry about them talking you out of it in order to upsell you.
Yeah, but when I was raised, it was, whatever the price is, cut it in half and add 20%. That's what I was taught. Sounds ridiculous, but it worked. It worked every time. And then when I was selling guitars, that was pretty much it. If you can get more out of them, then great. But if you couldn't, then whatever. That's the reason I don't want to go back into that world.
Cool. Hey.
Hey, I need to,
I'm ready to go. I appreciate it. I was having a lot of anxiety, just trying to process what happened with my friend, and I think having some perspective has been worth something, but just remembering that I also have you, my friend, I think really made the biggest difference. So, well, not everything we do has to solve something for everybody else. It doesn't matter to me. I appreciate you taking the time and listening to me and hearing me, and I kind of feel like I was able to take a deep breath. So sometimes just being a friend is the solution. So,
can I tell you the worst thing?
That
in a month?
Hmm?
So in a month, probably barely gonna remember.
Oh, I know. No, I know. Yeah, trust me. I lost my dad very young.
It's a factor of time.
Yep. I lost my grandmother, who I lived with, right? Pretty young, and then my dad young, and the most impactful people in my life. I've escaped this plane while I was there.
Oh, then been there before.
Hoping for more. Every case is unique, though.
Yeah, but don't let it beat you up.
Yeah.
Stay
Okay.
strong. Stay strong. If you need something, I'm always here.
All right.
I know it's difficult to ask. You know, giving is way easier than receiving. I already know that.
Sometimes I just want to take it in the ass and I don't want to have to put in the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you got other obligations, buddy.
Panda. Oh,
It is, but okay.
all right. Well, love one another, love yourselves, and Guitar Monk, Matthew, it's a pleasure as always. I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. Geoffrey with the G, you know me. Y'all have a good night. Bye. I think.